Hello, my name is Sammy Thompson. This is the first episode of a series, Life in Solitary, a close look at the stories of prisoners in solitary confinement. On this episode, we would like to introduce you to solitary confinement and explain why it is a problem. At the moment, there are around 80,000 individuals being kept in solitary confinement throughout the United States. Solitary confinement is used to keep unruly prisoners under control. Solitary confinement includes being confined in a 6 by 9 foot cell, being confined for between 22 and 24 hours a day, sensory deprivation, lack of human contact, and inadequate access to any sort of mental counseling, according to American Friends Service Committee. Most solitary confinement cells are just 6 feet by 9 feet. Imagine spending weeks, months, or even years locked up in a metal box this size. This sort of treatment and deprivation can drive anyone crazy. America's longest solitary confinement prisoner, Albert Woodfox, knows better than anyone else. He stated in an interview, "It don't get no darker than watching a man go insane in a cell. And you fight hard to try and save him, and you lose the battle. I thought, to try and save men going insane. Don't get any darker than that. Yeah, I can't tell you how many men that I form strong bonds with, friendships with, go insane. The damage left on these prisoners is permanent and immense." One prisoner from Pelican Bay even states, "It's not to the point that you want to commit suicide. It's to the point where we want to write and say, just give me the death penalty. Just give me the death penalty, man." The fact that this prisoner from Pelican Bay would rather die than keep living in solitary confinement illustrates the massive injustice. We must come to terms with the fact that solitary confinement is a form of torture that America has been using for centuries. Solitary confinement is not only morally corrupt, but also goes against the United States Constitution. In the Constitution it says, "Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted." From what we have seen, it is obvious that solitary confinement is both cruel and unusual. We have brought in a former prisoner to discuss his time in solitary confinement. Welcome, Todd Thompson.
Hi, Sammy. Thank you for having me today.
It's my pleasure. I would like to start by asking you how long you were in solitary confinement, and what state was it in?
I was in solitary on and off for about 3 months in Virginia.
If you don't mind me asking, what landed you in prison?
I was convicted of a nonviolent drug crime in 2003, and I was just recently released from prison. I would say that my crime did not match the punishment I received. It is hard to think of a criminal that is deserving of solitary confinement.
Interesting. And how would you say the treatment was in solitary?
The treatment in solitary was inhumane and almost drove me crazy. Spending 23 hours alone for weeks at a time drained the life out of me. I used sleeping as a way to escape the boredom and quiet. You don't realize how important human contact is until you go without it. The lack of any source of mental counseling only furthered all the issues I had.
How did other prisoners handle solitary confinement?
I saw prisoners all around me go insane from their time in solitary. Not many prisoners came out the way they went into solitary. One of my friends in prison was very social before he went in to solitary confinement, but after he left, he was very reserved and even angry at times.
Is it necessary that we end using solitary confinement as a nation?
I would say that ending solitary confinement is absolutely necessary. Solitary confinement is a form of torture. once we recognize that it becomes apparent how necessary the end of solitary confinement is.
Thank you, Todd. Todd's story is just one of many throughout the United States. In every state and prison, there are people facing the unjust treatment that is solitary confinement. The emotion of every prisoner that has been in solitary confinement displays how punishing sitting alone in a 6x9 cell for 23 hours a day is. This barbaric and inhumane punishment has no place in a civilized country such as America. Luckily, one group is looking to end this injustice. Unlock the Box states that they are a coalition of organizations and movement leaders who partner with state and local campaigns across the United States, working to end the use of solitary confinement for all people. Unlock the Box includes organizations such as Solitary Watch, the ACLU, and the National Religious Campaign Against Torture. These groups organize rallies and many other group activities that push for the end of solitary confinement. Before next week's episode, we ask that you, as a listener, go ahead and look up Unlock the Box. Look at some of the organizations and choose one to volunteer with. The end of solitary confinement is a necessity, and we must push for it as a society. Thank you for listening. Until next week, this is Sammy Thompson, signing off.